This person received a sign and began to reflect, and it was not by chance that this message reached you today. There is something happening in their heart that can no longer be ignored. For a long time, this person tried to move on without facing what they felt, tried to fill their days with distractions, commitments, silence, and even a certain coldness, as if that were enough to quiet what was alive inside. But the sign came, and when a sign comes at the right time, it stirs everything. It interrupts the escape, dismantles the resistance, and forces the soul to look at what it had been trying to avoid. What the angels show is that this sign was not just any coincidence. It was not a song playing by chance. It was not a memory popping up out of nowhere. It was not a name appearing without reason, nor an unimportant dream. It was a touch, a warning, an awakening. Something made this person stop inside, even if on the outside everything looked the same. And perhaps you felt this without being able to explain it. Perhaps, in recent days, a different restlessness arose in you, a feeling that something was moving in the unseen. When there is a true connection, the soul perceives it even before the mind understands. I will tell you something with great sincerity. There are moments when a person only begins to think truly, when life stops allowing distraction. And that is exactly what happened here. This person was reached by something that touched them deeply. It may have been a heavier absence, an unexpected emptiness, a longing that returned with force, a silent regret, or even the perception that you continue to occupy a place that no one else could replace. In my view, when someone receives a sign like this, it is not just to remind them, it is to wake them up. And what draws the most attention in this message is that this reflection did not begin lightly. It was not a beautiful, fleeting memory. It was something that tightened, something that went deep inside and brought questions that this person had been postponing. Because truly reflecting is not just thinking. Truly reflecting is feeling the weight of what could have been different. It is looking back and realizing things that were previously treated with carelessness. It is recognizing someone's importance when silence has already taken up too much space. And I know that for those listening to this with an involved heart, this part touches deeply. If you are listening to this message right now with a tight chest, take a deep breath and stay with me until the end, because there are details here that can help you better understand what is happening. Not everything that seems like a delay is forgetfulness. Not every silence is a lack of feeling. Sometimes a person only begins to understand the dimension of the loss when they receive a sign that touches exactly the part they tried to harden. And that is what happened. This person was touched at a sensitive spot, a place that no longer accepts emotional lies. Before continuing, write this mantra in the comments. What is true finds the way to the heart. Write it with faith, because when we write, it seems like the soul agrees with what heaven is showing. What the angels reveal now is that this person began to review moments with different eyes. Situations that previously seemed small began to carry a different weight. Simple conversations gained importance. Gestures of yours that might have been ignored began to return to memory with force. There is a huge difference between living something and understanding the value of what was lived. Many people only realize it afterward. Many people only understand it in silence. And this person began to enter exactly into that place, the place where emotional truth begins to appear without makeup. They began to remember your way, your care, your energy, the way you made yourself present even when you were not fully recognized. They began to think about the times you offered affection, understanding, patience, and perhaps did not receive the same clarity in return. This came as a mirror before them. And I deeply believe that certain signs appear exactly to show what was neglected, not to humiliate, but to teach, not to punish, but to make them see. And there is a very strong part in this message. This reflection is not just happening in thought, but in the emotional realm as well. This person is not just remembering you, they are being affected by it. There is a growing restlessness, a feeling that something important needs to be understood, resolved, or at the very least, admitted. This does not mean that everything will be resolved by magic, but it means that their heart is no longer in the same place as before, and that already changes a lot. Have you ever noticed how some people can only truly feel when time passes and absence settles in? It seems harsh to say this, but it happens. There are people who only reflect when they lose the comfort of certainty, when they no longer have you so close, so available, so predictable. When they realize that what seemed guaranteed was not waiting forever. And it is at this point that value appears with more clarity. The angels show that this person has begun to touch precisely this awareness. Perhaps they tried to resist. Perhaps they told themselves it was just a phase, just a memory, just a loose thought. But it wasn't, because the sign kept echoing. And when a sign comes from above, it doesn't pass so easily. It returns in details, in sensations, in inevitable comparisons, in questions that keep hovering in the mind at the end of the day. This person began to wonder if they acted right, if they said what was needed, if they let something valuable slip away, if there is still space, if there is still time. And I want to ask you a question, one of those you answer in the silence of your heart. Do you feel that something changed in the energy of this connection in recent days? Because often, before any concrete attitude appears, the soul already gives signs. The atmosphere changes, the thought becomes more insistent, the heart perceives movement. If this happened to you, do not dismiss it. There are things that are not seen with the eyes, but are felt with great clarity by those who are spiritually connected. Now I want to ask you for something simple yet powerful. Write 777 in the comments as an act of agreement with this message and as a request for clarity for everything that needs to be shown. And if this word is truly helping you and you feel it in your heart, you can support this work with a donation through the video's QR code or through the link in the description and fixed comment. This gesture of affection helps this message continue to reach people who are also going through difficult nights and need direction. The angels show me that this person began to reflect on what they feel, but also on what they fear, because one thing pulls the other. When someone wakes up emotionally, they don't just find longing, they also find guilt, doubt, insecurity, and fear that it might be too late. And that is where an internal conflict is born. On one side, the heart wanting to admit it. On the other, pride trying to contain it. On one side, the desire to draw closer. On the other, the fear of the response. And this battle inside has left this person more shaken than they appear. In my view, this is one of the truest moments of a connection. When a person stops fighting against what they feel and starts fighting against the consequences of having ignored it for so long. Because then it is no longer about whether you are present or not. It is about them recognizing that there is something in you that remains alive inside them. And that weighs heavily, not because it is bad, but because it requires courage. Courage to admit, courage to review, courage to no longer hide behind silence. The angels say that this reflection has been happening mainly in moments of retreat, when the day slows down, when the noise decreases, when there are not many people around, when the mind can no longer escape. It is in those hours that your memory appears with more force, and it doesn't appear just any way. It appears with feeling, with details, with comparison. Because this person begins to notice that a lot of things lost their color since you distanced yourself, or since the bond between you entered this place of distance, noise, and lack of definition. Perhaps they tried to find in other places the feeling they felt with you. Perhaps they sought to occupy the heart in other ways. But what the angels show is that there is a difference between company and connection, between presence and truth, between distraction and belonging. And it was precisely this difference that the sign made this person realize not everything fulfills, not everything calms, not everything touches, and the heart, when it feels this, begins to review even what it previously defended with conviction. There is something here that I think is important to tell you with great care. Do not confuse reflection with complete transformation. This person began to reflect, yes. Began to be touched, yes. Began to question what they feel and what they lost, yes. But internal processes do not always turn into action at the same speed. Some people feel a lot before acting. Others take time because they do not know how to deal with their own vulnerability. So receive this message with hope, but also with balance. Heaven shows you movement, not for you to get trapped, but for you to understand. If you are listening to this and thinking, my God, it feels like they are describing exactly what I've been feeling, know that this happens when a message finds the right heart. It's not about fantasy, it's about alignment. And what is being shown here is that there is an awakening in this other person, perhaps still silent, perhaps still incomplete, but real. If you are not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe and stay with us. Here there is always a word of faith for when the heart needs to breathe and understand what seems too confusing. The angels continue to show that this person began to wonder about you in a different way. Not just, how are you, but what do you feel now? If there is still space, if there is still any bridge, if there is still a chance to rebuild something, or even if you no longer want to know. And these questions are not born when the feeling has died. These questions appear when reflection reaches the point where the heart can no longer lie to itself. She began to think about what she could have done differently, in conversations that could have been more sincere, in attitudes that could have been less cold, in distances that may have been prolonged unnecessarily. And I know this touches deep, because when we love, we often dream of seeing the other person reach this understanding. But I also need to remind you, the other person's reflection cannot be the only basis of your peace. Your peace must continue to exist, with or without immediate movement. The angels show that, upon receiving this sign, this person entered a state of more intense observation. They may be looking at your social media, remembering phrases of yours, reviewing old conversations, thinking about specific moments, or simply missing you at unlikely hours. There is a presence of yours hovering around their heart, and this has not been comfortable to ignore, because the more they try to rationalize it, the more they realize there is feeling involved. Do you know what I think when I hear a message like this? I think that love, when it is true, can even be postponed, confused, muffled, but it rarely rests in peace within those who still need to learn something from it. And here there is learning. There is an awakening. There is an internal confrontation. This person began to reflect because something greater made them stop. And when it stops, it feels. Now, in an important moment of liberation, write a list of people in the comments, including yourself, whom you would like to forgive. Visualize each one of them. Send love and say, I forgive you and I release you. May peace be with you. Feel the lightness that this brings, because regardless of what this person does, your heart needs to remain clean, to clearly recognize what it deserves. The angels also show that there is a fear growing in this person. The fear that you have changed too much. The fear that there is no longer any openness. The fear that time has taken away the chance that previously seemed available. And it is curious, because many people only realize the value of presence when they begin to fear definitive absence. That is when the feeling stops being convenient and becomes urgent. Not urgent in the sense of hurry, but urgent in the sense of truth. This person began to understand that you were not just someone who was there. You were someone who left a mark, someone who welcomed, someone who touched deep parts. And now there is an inevitable comparison happening. People, environments, days, and experiences seem not to reach the same place you reached, and this is making them reflect even more. Because the heart identifies when it lived something rare. The angels show me nights of thought, moments of hesitation, the desire to speak and drawing back, the desire to reach out and the fear of not knowing how. There is an internal movement growing, and even though not everything is ready to become an action, there is a building up taking place. This person's soul is being forced to recognize what it tried to set aside, and this can change the direction of many things. But I want to tell you something with great affection. Do not run after this confirmation as if your life depended on it. Receive the message, welcome what touches you, observe the signs, but stay firm within yourself. Because when something comes from heaven, it doesn't need to be forced. What needs to find a path finds it. What needs to mature matures. And what is true is not lost for lack of insistence on your part. If it is lost, it's because it was never as true as it seemed. The angels are sending you a special sign. Your lucky number for today is 8. Write in the comments, I receive the energy of the angels. My lucky number is 8, and I receive this message with faith. This number speaks of strength, maturity, and inner movement. It appears today as confirmation that things are being reorganized in the unseen. There is also a part of this message that speaks about you, because it is not just the other person who is being touched. You are also being prepared to see this situation with more discernment. Sometimes when we love, we run the risk of romanticizing any crumb of change. But the angels do not want that for you. They want you to realize what is real, what is deep, what is consistent. This reflection of the other person is important, yes. But even more important is what this will truly produce. If there is an approach, let it come with clarity. If there is speech, let it come with truth. If there is a return, let it come with emotional responsibility. Because you no longer need confusion disguised as feeling. You need peace. You need something that does not make you doubt all the time. You need reciprocity, presence, and direction. And I feel that this message also comes to align that within you. Perhaps this person is, for the first time in a long time, realizing that silence also hurts. That postponing too much has a cost. That losing someone important doesn't only happen when there is a definitive breakup. Sometimes one loses little by little in the lack of courage, in omission, in delay, in pride, and recognizing this hurts. But recognizing this can also be the beginning of a sincere change. I know there are people listening to this message in the early hours of the morning with their phone in hand, trying to understand if there is still something alive in this connection. And I want to tell you, calm your heart. Not everything needs to be decided today. Not everything needs to be understood now. What you need at this moment is to receive this word with maturity and let time reveal the part that is still hidden. Heaven shows the movement, but time shows the intention. The angels say that this person received a sign and began to reflect because the soul could no longer bear to deceive itself. This is strong. This is serious. This shows that something true is being stirred. But now it is up to this person to decide what they are going to do with what they felt. Will they keep running away? Will they keep postponing? Will they turn reflection into courage? Will they accept the truth or try to quiet it once more? This part no longer depends only on the feeling. It depends on posture. Share this video with 2 dear people who need this message today. And if you can, also leave a prayer for your guardian angel in the comments. When many people pray together, it creates a current of peace that reaches more hearts than we can imagine. And before we close, place your hand on your heart for a moment. Breathe, feel your energy. Feel everything you have already endured, everything you have already understood in silence, everything you have already cried without an audience, everything you have already given with love. You are not small in the face of this story. You are not invisible. You are not in vain. If this person began to reflect, it's because your mark was real. It's because what existed between you had weight. It's because the truth, sooner or later, asks for passage. Now go forward with serenity. Observe, but do not lose yourself. Have hope, but do not abandon yourself. Receive, but do not beg. What is yours finds the right moment. What is true finds the right way. And what comes from God does not arrive to mess up your peace. It arrives to confirm what your mature heart can already recognize. If this message spoke to you, write in the comments. Whoever has been touched by the truth can no longer pretend. Share your experience, like this video, and subscribe to the channel for more messages like this. Thank you for being here with me. May God bless your life, and until the next video.